In this podcast, I'm going to be discussing the Sun-Neptune conjunction that is going to be occurring on March 22nd at 1 degree of Aries. This is a massive conjunction. It is affecting a lot of individuals out there, and in this video, I'm going to be discussing it in depth. Welcome to the Vastness of Google podcast, where I combine information with insight, and I really go into how it is all about. So the very first thing, when the sun, first of all, the sun is our personality. It's what makes us up. It's our, backbone. It is our, our way of going about in the world, a way of operating in the world that is external to us. And Neptune is spirituality. Neptune is the planet of disillusionment, not seeing things clearly, but also fantasy, dreams, being caught and swept up in a vision and wanting to just make the vision to a better place that the world can offer up to being in a way. So when these come together, it is making spirituality a conscious thing. We're acting spirituality. We're living spirituality. We're turning these visions into reality in our conscious everyday life. And in Aries, that is very important, because Aries is about making things happen, making things work in our lives, really getting into that in a very special way. And so with this energy, we could have a heightened sensitivity to our environment. Like a heightened sensitivity. Where we're just so sensitive to the dynamics in our environment. Like when people say things or do things, it's going to affect us more easily on an emotional level. We're going to be perhaps drained by when they say things or do things. That's, a very typical thing. That we could experience with this transit. We're feeling things on a more intuitive level in our environment, on a more intuitive level. We're tapped into our intuition. We may be very much drained and more affected by the thoughts and feelings of others. That's how we may come across, is feeling very, just like the thoughts and feelings of others about us can really affect us in very powerful emotional ways. And we need to be very mindful of this. So if we get too caught up in what is going on, externally in our environment, we're not going within and we're not doing the work inside of ourselves to heal ourselves and take care of ourselves, and we're going to find, a lot of problems that we're going to run into with this. So just sensitive to the vibrations and energies of our environment. We also need to be mindful not to be taking advantage of others. It's very easy to, with this, be taken advantage of by others when it comes to just, how we do things, how we operate in our lives, how we make things happen. It's so easy to be taken advantage of. That others take advantage of our gifts, our talents, our potentials, and use us for those things. Like, we need to be mindful of that, not getting caught up in that. Drawing healthy boundaries, not allowing ourselves to get, caught up in others' dramas, others' deals of what they want from us. Not getting caught up in just, allowing the energies of the room. Like if somebody feels sad, or if somebody feels, happy, or, tired, or, whatever the emotion is, it can really affect you in, very deep ways. And on the other side of the spectrum, if we're just helping out and constantly serving others, we feel like we can't fill up our own cups. So drawing healthy boundaries to our environment is very important. Also, healthy escapism. Being very mindful of escaping in healthy ways and having a schedule, like having a set schedule, like I'm going to escape, but then I'm going to draw this boundaries to this. Like there is healthy ways to escapism. Escapism gets us away from our daily life, gets us away from our daily problems and, everything like that. Gets us away from what we have to deal with on an everyday level. That is our mundane practical life. It whisks us away to foreign lands of dreams and imagination, like when we're watching a movie. We're taken to another place that is apart from the place that we're living in reality. It doesn't look, it looks so real, but it's not. It's actors on a set acting. We could also find that, with this other forms of escapism, like the creative things that we define for ourselves, can also be very, very helpful in healing for us. Now, this conjunction is very, very significant because this conjunction has not occurred since the American Civil War way back in around about 1865, 1862, somewhere around there. So this is very, very huge. And at the Civil War time, we were, fighting for freedom. We were fighting for, slavery to be abolished and for there to be more rights and for everyone to be more liberated and for there to be more equality in what was going on because, we didn't want, us to be, very, very consumed with just the slavery and the way that slavery goes on. We needed to break out of that. So there's a need here to start something. With Aries energy, with the sun being in Aries, Aries season is starting, and Neptune being in Aries, there is this need to start something. Aries is like, let's go, let's start it, let's make it happen, let's initiate it. But you can't understand why you're starting it. It's like you want to start something very, very easily, like you want to initiate it, but it's hard to see, why, and hard to understand why you actually want this thing. It's like an impulse, it's like something inside of you, like I want to start it, but I'm not conscious and I'm not clear as to why I want to initiate this thing, because Neptune Neptune dissolves clarity, in astrology. So what in terms of what is real, what is factual, what is, realistic in your life, what you can prove, what, makes sense, and what you sense that is intuitively, that doesn't go off the logical mind, that doesn't go off of, what you, what you want in your, your physical environment. So, what you know about your environment and about the state of affairs in your life, and then what you sense on an emotional, intuitive level, this gets very, very thin. The layers between these things thin out, and it's hard to tell the difference between these two. These things kind of blend into one because in Pisces things come together and blend into one. So it's very, very hard to tell here, with these two things going on when it comes to the two things kind of coming together. So this meeting is around the Aries point. I think back to February 20th, we had the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries, and that was the very, very first episode of this podcast, which was perfect because it was major new beginnings. And so this is another major new beginning for us in 2026. Like this year is full on forward momentum, 1 year starting fresh. Like I feel it already, and just wait till Aries season. You're going to really be feeling it in Aries season. And so it begins with a very, very interesting twist, a very, very interesting take, which is this conjunction. So this is happening around the Aries point, which is a major point of new beginnings in astrology. It represents major activations of new beginnings, new starts. Now, in another video for the weekly astrology video, I'm going to be talking about the Sun and Saturn meeting together. This is going to help us make our dreams very, very realistic and grounded. It's going to help, Aries is like having all these ideas and all these goals, and Saturn is like, let's make a plan. Let's put a structure to it. Let us construct it in a very, very positive, beneficial way for us that is for the long term, with having restrictions and having discipline in order to, make it happen and, make those dreams a reality. Now, also, Mars and Jupiter, I was reading about this, and it said that Mars and Jupiter, and Mars being in Pisces, which is very much about being very intuitive. It is about being very much about, operating from your intuition and acting out of this desire to give and be compassionate and acting from an intuitive spiritual place. It is acting from that place, living your life in that way. And, Jupiter in Cancer as well, I'm nurturing myself and taking care of myself emotionally, and I'm taking care of others, and I'm honoring my family. And it's fun to do this. It's fun to take care of myself. It's a joy to do all this kind of things. So Mars and Jupiter coming together in water signs will give more flow to this, will give more kind of feeling about this in an emotional way. So, now the North Node in Pisces and Mercury will meet up with this North Node going on. So, there's a lot of aspects happening. There's a lot of aspects happening with this. But when it comes to this, your words and actions matter. What you put out into the world in terms of what you say and what you do matters. Like, I'm not going to call out people in my videos that are in my personal life or do whatever, because I am self-aware. I have become more self-aware of the impact that it may have on others if I do that. And so I won't continue to do that, like being mindful of my words and also how your actions impact others. How your actions impact others, and are they compassionate? Are they from a place of love and compassion, which is the North Node in Pisces? Because we want to act from a compassionate place. We want to act from a loving place. And if we're not operating from that, then, where are we operating from? We need to be compassionate and loving to the people in our everyday lives and experiences. That's how we can grow and thrive. Now, in your chart, I'm going to go through some examples that it listed. If you have any personal placements between 0 to 3 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, cardinal signs are about making things happen. They're about starting things and just making things happen. Like, cardinal signs will not sit around and wait for others to give them permission and give them, the green light to make things happen. They take an active role in their lives. Like, they take in all their ways. Like, Cancer does it through the family and the home. Libra does it through relationships. Capricorn does it through its goals and business structures. Like, cardinal signs are active signs. They take an active role and they get in there and they make things happen in their life, that they want to put themselves out there and be a participant in life. So that's the cardinal signs. So you'll really, really be feeling this. Now, Aries may be feeling very, very disconnected by this. Because it's happening in your sign. There's this, or not disconnected, but disoriented. Like, you're not clear on what you want to initiate. You're not clear on what you want in terms of your goals, in terms of your plans and everything like that, in terms of what you want to put out into the world. You're not clear on these kind of things just yet. You're not clear on, all the things that you want to, put out there into the world and, make happen. And all those kind of things like that, where you are, disoriented and discombobulated. Where you're like, I'm not clear on this particular thing and, what happened because of it. Like there's this feeling of just lack of clarity around what you want, what you need. And then, so Neptune has, in terms of, if you look at it through the way that I do not look at astrology and horoscopes, looking at it through the lens of career, battles that dissolve, which is Neptune, about, career, Neptune dissolving career, Saturn, making career real and a real thing and a real application is something that you put structure in, something that you put stability in and, make happen in your life. So that is Saturn versus Neptune. For Libra, your relationships may be dissolved. You may not be clear on who you're meeting or who you're interacting with and what their values are and what their ideas are and what they are all about, probably. Now, Capricorn shows situations that are dissolving in your home life. So there's a lack of clarity around that. So for Pisces and Scorpio, it could be, it could be about having emotional clarity. Having emotional clarity, knowing what you're feeling, tapping into that emotion, and trusting your instincts. Trusting your instincts. Trusting that gut feeling that just tells you this is the thing to do. This person is this way, or this person is that way. Like when you trust your instincts, like Cancer is a very instinctual sign, because it's, trust your instincts. That deals with survival. Like Cancer just trying to survive out into the world, which just makes it so emotionally sensitive and so hurt that it's trying to survive. And it does that through its intuition, through its instincts to get out into, the world. Because that's Cancer energy. So the emotional clarity and trusting your instincts with these two signs. Now, 1862 was the American Civil War and then unification of Italy that happened. Then Neptune in Aries. What is Neptune in Aries? Well, Neptune in Aries takes all these big spiritual beliefs that we have, such as justice, equality, liberty, compassion for all, unconditional love, raising ourselves to the higher vibration, moving into the prayer and age, like all these things that are abstract, the things that they're not materialized yet. They're not made into real things just yet. They're immaterial. They're in the ethers, and it turns them into concrete action. Like, Aries is like, Neptune Aries is like, get the show on the road and make things happen. Neptune Aries wants to make all these spiritual dreams and all these spiritual ideals a reality, and wants to act on them and wants to put them forth out into the world. So it could also mean that the old world is ending and the new world is beginning. That could be what this could also be. Is, because we're leaving one chapter behind and we're starting a new chapter with our lives. Now, we could be feeling just a very, very strong sense of courage with this. Like we're feeling a lot of courage, a lot of inspiration, a lot of enthusiasm for life. Like, let's get going. I have all this fresh new energy now that I want to act upon. I have all these new ideas and these goals that I want to act upon. And wanting to do it in compassionate ways. Like, there's a such thing as compassionate prosperity, where you are, giving and being prosperous in ways that help others, in ways that consider others and are compassionate towards others. So you may be feeling like all these goals that we want to initiate and act in the world, we want to be compassionate with these goals to others. Or we could be feeling very just uncertain and just not clear about the state of our life and how we may feel during this transit. There's just this lack of clarity that comes in, even though Aries is a very, very clear, direct sign, because Aries has a lot of clarity. Aries is very, very clear, like I know who I am and I know who I want. It's very, very rooted in its identity. Now, collectively, we could see new spiritual, warfare playing out. People, putting themselves out there in terms of, being more brave and bold in the spiritual arena. Now, I will say that you're going to be feeling a fog that's going to be happening with this transit. And clarity is going to come after this transit goes away. Like the fog is going to be there, the difficulty is going to be there. But this is not good for business. You don't want to be signing all these contracts and doing all these types of business things because details might not be, even though Mercury just went direct on March 20th, details, you might miss details. You might not understand what the person is saying. You may say something that may be getting interpreted a different way. You might be deceived by somebody. You might think that this plan is just so great and it will bring you all the promises, bring you the prosperity and peace that your soul desires, but it won't. You're caught up in the illusions of it rather than the real thing of it. So being mindful, this is very, very important. And it may cause you to have a disconnect between your body and your mind. And, Aries is very much aligned with body and mind. It's like, my body and mind, at best, their body and mind, their heart and their head, their ego and soul are aligned to go on the mission of what they want to achieve in their life, knowing themselves and their identity. That's Aries at the high road. But there's a disconnect here between those things. And so the Neptune brings about hidden dreams, things that are, that you dream about, or that you imagine that are just, below the carpet, or that you didn't see, or that you were not conscious of. Secrets and unconscious patterns to light. It could bring out a lot of secrets that were buried and were not, because Neptune is what you're not seeing. It brings all the illusions and it could be scandals, it could be all the things that you're not seeing to the surface. Like the sun illuminates whatever it touches. And so the sun is going to bring all these illusions and all these dreams and all these things that you can't see to the surface. And it's going to bring it to the surface where you can see it in conscious light. And any unconscious pattern that you have, any self-destructive pattern of, could be drugs, or it could be just a habit pattern. It could be a relationship pattern, like people-pleasing in a relationship, or starting things and not finishing them, as examples of patterns that could be brought to light. Now, themes around this is identity, being very, very strong in your identity, being very, very strong in who you are, your sense of courage, in terms of being very, very courageous about your goals, being brave, spiritual warfare. Now, Venus is in Aries at this time. Venus in Aries is going to give you a little bit of a spark. Venus in Aries is I know who I am and I know who I want to relate to. Venus in Aries is like, it can suffer and can have several issues, but it's like you are very, very aware and you know who you want to relate to, and you will not be afraid to put yourself out there and show yourself and who you are and live a relationship that is authentic to you. That's Venus and Aries. And then Uranus and Taurus is like, we're going to change up what we value. We're going to revolutionize what we value, and maybe redefining our sense of inner self-worth, redefining how we think about Mother Nature, reinventing, different types of food to be more healthy and be more sustainable for the earth. These are all Uranus and Taurus things that we've been working with since 2018. So this is really all that I wanted to say for this Sun-Neptune conjunction in Aries that is going to be taking place on March 22nd. Tune in for the video for your sign on this particular conjunction coming up when it comes to how your sun, moon, and rising sign can experience this conjunction in terms of what is going on with your sign, and how you can grow, and what you need to know and be aware of for this transit. So tune in for that video coming up.